Having a purpose is where it starts. Knowing that there's something that we're setting out to do and not letting anything get in the way. And by the way, sometimes the greatest challenge we have is that all those around us may tell us that we can't do it. Listening to the boo birds, listening to the critics, is the number one reason that many people who could have achieved great things never do it. Because they were so busy hearing what others told them they can't do that they never realized that within them was the capacity to do things greater than they themselves ever dreamed. Daring to dream is knowing it takes some risk, but the greatest risk also exact the greatest rewards. Having the purpose is not enough if you don't have a plan. I would imagine that if you asked any of the 5 of these, they would tell you that not only do they have a definite idea of what they want to do in life, but they have a plan to get there. When I was a little kid, I never will forget in the Sunday school room where I attended Sunday school as a small child, there was a sign on the wall of the Sunday school class, and it made no sense to me whatsoever as a 6-year-old, none. But I remembered the sign, and I remember the words of it, and when I became an adult, it made perfect sense to me. Because the sign simply had 6 words, and it said this. It said, plan your work. And right underneath it said, work your plan. And I found that that's so very true in terms of carving out something that you want to succeed in. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Planning what you want to do and then doing it is the difference between those who actually accomplish their dreams and those who simply dream their dreams. And then it's perseverance. There's a saying that we say in the South a lot, and that is that it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight and the dog that determines the outcome. My wife and I have 3 dogs. One's a great big, about 90-pound black Labrador retriever. Then we have a tiny little Shih Tzu, and then a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel. Now, the little Shih Tzu is the smallest of the 3 dogs by a long shot. But if the 3 of them go after the same piece of food, it's the little dog that gets the food. He doesn't know he's a little dog. He doesn't know he can't beat up those other 2 dogs. And you know what? They don't seem to know that he can't do it either. Part of the challenge of daring to dream and getting there is being willing to persevere when everybody says there's no point and you can't do it. Greatest achievements in the world have been done by the people who were told they couldn't do it. Did you know that Walt Disney was once fired by a newspaper editor because he was told that he didn't have any creative ideas? Don't know who the editor is, but I know who Walt Disney is. Did you know that Louisa May Alcott was rejected for many of her stories time after time because editors read her stuff and said it just didn't have any popular appeal? Are you aware of the fact that F.W. Woolworth, who founded the Woolworth department store chain, was kept in the back stocking goods by the manager of his first job at a store because the manager said Woolworth just didn't have enough sense to wait on the customers and do anything but stock the freight? Are you aware that when Thomas Edison was just a child and first going to school, the school teacher asked his mother to please keep him at home because he was so stupid that he was incapable of learning anything and he was a distraction to the rest of the class? In my own home state of Arkansas, there was a gentleman by the name of Sam Walton who ran a little 5 and dime store in Newport, Arkansas. His landlord didn't renew his lease, thought that there was no future in a store like that, and so canceled Sam Walton's lease on the 5 and dime store. Sam Walton thought about just quitting and giving it up altogether, but decided he would make one more go of it. And he moved to the little town of Bentonville, Arkansas, and opened up his own store and decided that he would run it a little differently than he had to under a franchise agreement. And he started his own store. By the way, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's maybe not here on the islands, but the rest of the world is pretty well aware of Walmart. It became the largest corporation in the world. All started with a guy who lost his lease because his landlord didn't think that he had the kind of capacity to make a go of it in the retail world. Life is filled with people who are told what they couldn't do, but they did it anyway.